Hi students, good morning. Welcome back to EduStar video class. You are watching class 5 Social Lesson 16 First War of Independence Revision Part. Before we start our revision, let's have a small reminder about how to protect ourselves from coronavirus. Number 1, wear mask when you move out. Number 2, wash your hands frequently. Number 3, avoid close contact with outside people. Stay home and stay safe. And try to avoid outside food. Okay, children? Let's start our revision. In the 17th century, several European traders arrived in India. First came the Portuguese, then Dutch, then French and finally the English. Each of them formed their own East India Company to trade with India. All these companies wanted to trade with India for two reasons. One, India was rich in spices and cotton textiles. 2. India was a huge market for their goods. Mughal Emperor Jahangir allowed East India Company to establish trading center. Sir Thomas Roy, an English ambassador, met Jahangir and got permission to trade. When the permission was granted, the English East India Company quickly established factories in Surat, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras and many other places. Now we will revise Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey took place in the year 1757. It was a struggle between English East India Company and Nawab of Bengal. Siraj-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of Bengal. The British East India Company established a factory in Calcutta known as Fort William without his permission. The Nawab was also disturbed by the misuse of the trade license granted to the British. He realized that Bengal was suffering because of its trade relation with the British. So all these incidents angered the Nawab and he captured the factory of the East India Company. Robert Clive, an officer of the British East India Company, met the Nawab and declared a war against the Nawab. So, the Battle of Plassey took place at Plassey in Bengal in the year 1757 with the help of Mir Zafar, who is commander of Bengal. The British defeated Siraj-ud-Dawla. Mir Zafar killed Siraj-ud-Dawla and became the Nawab of Bengal. In 1760, Mir Qusam became Nawab of Bengal after Mir Zafar with the help of English East India Company because Mir Zafar was in conflict with English East India Company over too many demands. English East India Company played a major role and replaced Mir Qusam, son-in-law of Mir Zafar, as Nawab of Bengal. Few years later, another battle known as Battle of Buxar took place in 1764. It was fought between the new Nawab of Bengal, Mir Qusam, and the English East India Company. However, Mir Qusam was defeated. Mir Qusam was fled to Patna to get help from Sujah-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Oudh, and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II to wage a war against the British. But the British defeated the combined army and took control of Bihar, Bengal, Jharkhand and Odisha. And finally, British had a strong foundation. Next is about Anglo-French Wars. It was fought between the French and the English East India Companies, ended French trade in India and established the supremacy of the British East India Company. After the Battle of Buxar, the company started to take control over other kingdoms. In 1799, the British East India Company won Mysore by defeating Tipu Sultan in the Battle of Seringapatnam. The British East India Company defeated the Marathas, the rulers of Awadh and Punjab also. The company also introduced several laws and policies like the subsidiary allies and doctrine of lapse to expand their rule. Subsidiary allies was introduced by Governor General Lord Wellesley. According to this allies, Indian rulers cannot have their own army and they were protected by the British troops. This made British to take complete control. Next is about doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse was introduced by Governor General Lord Dalhousie. According to this policy, if an Indian ruler died without leaving a son as heir, his kingdom would be brought directly under the British rule. Lord Dalhousie annexed 8 Indian states according to this rule. For example, Maratha Kingdom, Jhansi and Awadh, etc. When the British took control of India, they needed a plan to run it. So, they framed laws and planned the land revenue system. Land revenue system means paying tax for land. Tax from the land was a major source of revenue. Revenue means income, and they also established the army, police, bureaucracy and judiciary. The British rule was unfair. The British has introduced laws only for their benefit. Many Indian rulers felt cheated because of the subsidiary allies and doctrine of lapse. The British land revenue policies forced farmers to grow only cash crops for poor income and not allowed to grow food crops. This resulted in scarcity of food. The British blocked the growth of modern industries and Indian handicraft and cotton textiles in India. Indians started to protest against the British rule. So, protest movements occurred throughout the 19th century in India. Some of the important ones were the Santhal Rebellion, Indigo Rebellion, Pabna Uprising and Deccan Riots. The revolt of 1857 was a turning point in our history. Like the Indian farmers and weavers, the Indian soldiers were also dissatisfied with the British. The Indian soldiers were not only paid less than the British soldiers, the higher ranks in the army were reserved for the British soldiers only. And one of the important reasons for the revolt of 1857 was the use of the Enfield rifle. The Enfield rifle used a cartridge which had to be thrown open with the teeth. It was believed that animal fat was used to grease these cartridges. This hurt the religious sentiments of the Indians who refused to use the cartridges. In Barakpur, a young Indian soldier named Mangal Pandey attacked his British officer on 29th March 1857. Mangal Pandey was hanged for the rebellion. This made his colleagues to revolt against the British. Later, on 10 May 1857, a revolt broke out among soldiers in Meerut. They marched to Red Fort in Delhi and declared Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal emperor, as their king. Soon after, the rebellion spread to Kanpur, Agra, Allahabad and many places in north and central India. Rani Lakshmibai, Tantia Top, Bahat Khan, Nana Fadnavis, Meham, Hazrat Mahal and many other Nawabs and rulers also joined the protesting sepoys. The freedom struggle spread all over the country. The revolt of 1857 was a major turning point in the history of modern India, but the British suppressed the revolt with its strong army and modern weapons like rifles and cannons. The revolt ultimately ended when Bahadur Shah Zafar was exiled to Rangoon in Myanmar, where he died, and finally bringing the Mughal dynasty to an end. In 1858, the Queen's command brought under India directly under the British Crown. The British East India Company was no more functional and the administration of India passed into the hands of the Queen. Indian rulers were allowed to rule over their kingdom but were controlled by the Queen. Finally, we completed lesson 16 revision and it's time to write the worksheet. Shall we start? Write part A, important words. Find 30 words from lesson 16, the first war of independence, and write those words in A4 sheet as shown to you. Part B, complete the following web chart. So you draw the chart in A4 sheet. Write first the important events in, and I have given some year and you have to write the events related to the year. Is it clear, students? Write question with answer. Next, part C, arrange the following events chronologically, means write the events in order. First, Battle of Plassey. Second, Battle of Seringapatnam. Third, arrival of Vasco da Gama. Fourth one, establishment of the East India Company. Fifth, doctrine of lapse. You have to write order wise. Next, part D, fill in the blanks. First one, the revolt of 1857 began in dash. Second one, the battle of Plassey was fought between the armies of Siraj-ud-Dawla and dash. Third one, the doctrine of lapse was introduced by dash. Fourth one, the first war of independence started in the year dash at dash by a young soldier named dash. Fifth one, dash permitted the East India Company to establish its trading center in India. Sixth one, Bahadur Shah Zafar was exiled to dash. Seventh one, Siraj-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of dash. After completing your worksheet, use answer key to check your answers. After completing your worksheet, take a photocopy and send it to our mail. Our mail ID is edustar.5@gmail.com, and don't forget to mention your roll number and subject in the subject column. Is it clear, students? Bye students. Meet you all in the next video.